It's unclear what Tartak might mean, but it derives it from Palhiva phrase Tartak, meaning profound darkness or hero of darkness. The pulpit commentary decrees that these guesses cannot be regarded as entitled to attention. Alfred Jones' Dictionary of Old Testament properly believes deity as you. Now, again, it's a possibility that they could have been changed, but nevertheless, the meaning is still profound darkness or hero of darkness. What does and an ass have in common? Are you hearing me? Yes. These are deities, and this is what they worship. It's crazy how we worship everything. Right. Mm-hmm. Now let's look at this will be an ass, which is crazy to me. All right. Again, let's look at and from Ham. Let's look at Ham. I'm not going to do all of it, but I'm going to do enough to get us once again the just a taste of what once again was taking place and the people that were now in the land that had replaced the Samaritans or the Samaritans. The name, not to be confused, spelled the same but pronounced slightly different, is the city that is among the most frequently mentioned places of writings. It is a city of proverbial wealth and prosperity. The prophet Zechariah on Tyre and Sidon, Zechariah 9:2, and to the city as Hamath the Great, Amos 6, and situated in Aram, which is Syria. According to Melachim, it also recovered by King Jeroboam together with Damascus. So once again, you got to look at everything that's looking at. Once again, we're looking at place on that of the Samaritans, but they end up forfeiting it because they went into captivity under Shalmaneser, who removed them and put other people in their place. Right. Okay? Now, as we look at this again, we look and it's like I say, it's just amazing all the stuff that takes place. Now, we hear first of Hamath through a reference to its inhabitants, the Hamathite, who was from Canaan, according to Bereshit 10:10. As allegories of how the Ibram saw their world, and particularly the intentional relationships and developments. Once again, you have to always remember that's what they viewed or that's what they said is not always necessarily true. Okay, mm-hmm. We know when that is not an allegorum, and we know when something is literal. Now, it says the spies investigated the promised land. They went as Rahab at Lebo Hamath. Although the classical translations, King James Version, translate Lebo part and speak of the entrance of Hamath or the going into Hamath, or to that extent. Chapter 13, verse 21. Note that Nas and NIV speaks of Lebo Hamath, except Melachim Aleph 8:6 and Melachim Bet 14:25 were not of Hamath. So we see all these people, and if you look back once again, all it's kind of like these people, and it's almost like we're gonna rub it in your face. You lost it, we're gonna take it, and we just gonna go crazy on it. Right. Okay? All right, now there is also a Hamath Zobah, which apparently was close to Hamath. In Chronicles Bet 8:38, chapter 8, verse 3 through 4, we read that King Solomon laid siege to Hamath Zobah and overcame it and began to build storage cities in Hamath. Hamath in the writings, but Lebo Hamath is mentioned quite a few times in the scriptures. The actual city of Hamath does not appear until Samuel Bet 8 and 9 tells us about King Toa, or who heard the army of as far as Hamath. Once again, that is Chronicles, also Deborah Emayim Bet, which would be Aleph 3, and acted according to his best interests. When the king captured Yasrael and exiled the Israelites, he peopled their cities with realm, including Melachim Bet 17:20. Much theological contamination, as the author of the book of Kings grimly notes, or Melachim notes. The men of Hamath in particular made and worshipped a deity called Ashima, and Melachim Bet 17:30. But the Assyrian spokesman Rabashakeh rightly proclaimed his doubt that any of these gods, Shema 34, Yashiyah 36 and 19. Now once again, he made sure that the people he put on the land were people that were basically the opposite, but at the same time, they still had that, they worshiped deities, and they put these things on the land, and they made sure that they were going to bring contamination. Not only did it bring theological contamination, but it also brought contamination of the worship and the lifestyle. Are you hearing me? Yes. Just doing any and everything. It's almost like you put, I don't want to put homeless people or not, but you put the worst of people on the land. And you say, now, but when people start dying, now you go trying to get somebody basically from the Yisrael to come and teach you how to live according to one that they were the land, but they get off of it, and still you just want somebody there to teach it, but you ain't nobody. Right. Like today, doesn't it? Yes. When you grabbing folk and people really don't want to know it, they just want to have something else up under what they wanted for to live by. They just want to have just something else up under their belt to say that I know that. Right. But embrace it and say, no, this is my way of life. No. Now, when King Jehoahaz and Pharaoh initially imprisoned him in the land of Hamath, but later took him to Mitzrayim, Melachim Bet 23:33. A while after that, Nebuzaradan, captain of the Babylonian guard, brought an unfortunate delegation of King Zedekiah to his king, Nebuchadnezzar, at the same Riblah in the land of Hamath. Melachim Bet 25:20, Jeremiah 39, verses 5 and 6, Jeremiah 2 and 27. Now, the scholars agree that the name Hamath derives from an Yam and Yaham. Most probably etymologically related. They look the same and mean the same. There are even instances where it cannot be determined which of the two verbs is used. Bereshit 30 and 39, Hosea 7 and 7. The root WHM, Hawim, I guess you go Hwim, something like that. Hawim, like that, is also a close cousin of the previous two, the root hum. Officially has nothing to do with either, but produces forms that are identical to the forms produced by the other two. Now, once again, let's look at its meanings. The root verb, hamam, means to be hot or warm, and that usually in the physical sense. Shemach 16:21, Haggai 1 and 6. Sometimes it is used to describe a non-physical heat. Determination. And 3, a non-sexual excitation. Yashiyah, excitation of animals only. Bereshit 30 and 38. Now, when you look at the masculine heat, you get that from Bereshit 8 and 22, Jeremiah 16 and 8. The adjective of ham, meaning hot. Yahusha 9 and 12, Ayah 37 and 17. The feminine noun, ha, meaning heat, typically of the sun. Tehillim 19 and 6. In poetic passages, this word is used as substitute of the word shemesh, or shemesh, meaning sun. Yashiyah 24 and 23, and Ayah 30. Masculine noun, haman, and its plural, hamamin, denoting worship. Vayikra 26 and 30, Yashiyah 27 and 9. So we see that even the people and their names represent all of the stuff that they were doing on the land. Right. Because as we look at them and we look at who they were worshiping and what was taking place, you see, wow, this is amazing, the stuff that they were doing. Now we look at Hamath, and he made Ashima. Now let's see, we're going to look and see what Ashima what she did and what was I know it's a woman. All right, I wanted to go and give the extended form of it. I don't see it. Okay. I will check it. All right, now we look at Ashima, what was done with that. All right, let's see. Men made Ashima and Awame now burned their they burned their children in the fire to Adremelech and Amalek, gods of Seraphim. They also who and appointed from among themselves priests of the high places who acted for them in the houses of high places. Once again, these are the deities that in they did all kinds of stuff, and I wanted to see the extended one of them did. Okay, let's see. Okay, I don't see it. Let me go to the next one. I'm sure you hope it. All right. Now let's look at. We looked at Hamat. Now we're going to look at Seraphim. And let's look at the meaning. The writings, Seraphim in the writings. It's one of the cities from which the king of Assyria brought people to inhabit the cities of Samaria to replace the exiled people of Yasrael. Melachim Bet may have been located, but according to Rabashak, the spokesman of the king of Assyria, it was one of the cities whose gods could not protect it against invasion. None of them could. Again, you hear the testimonies of certain things. Ashima couldn't do anything, and then you see this one as they continue to basically worship and follow this deity, but nothing ever happens. Now, Melachim Bet 1834, Yashiyah 619, and whose kings were never to be seen again. Melachim Bet 1913, Yashiyah 3713. Once in Yasrael, these foreign nations began to introduce their gods. The Seraphites were particularly vile and sacrificed their children by burning them to their deities, Adremelech and Amalek. Melachim Bet 1731. The ethnonym Seraph is spelled the same as the name of their city, and either they or their city was also known as Seraphim. And Melachim Bet 1731. Now it says, and it means a writing. The name Seraphim is probably foreign, but the way it is spelled clearly reminds the noun Sefer, meaning a writing. So once again, it's amazing how we see all this crazy stuff that's taking place in the land, and we look at these people that have been placed in the land and the stuff that they were doing. So, but to the Hebrew audience, like writings of scribes or something to that extent. So once again, when we look at the Sefer, or a Sefer, not Sefer, but Sefer, the Sephira meaning to be writings of scribes. And you have to understand, all writers and all Yasrael, but you had that was popular that day. So you had those that were Kaddish and those that were Jewish. But once again, it designed, according to DVD, Theological Dictionary, the SPR or the SPR, because all words in this form are probably derived from an Assyrian loan word of Sapura. The word book of the covenant reports it comes from Akkadian. Words meaning writing or scribe, and that the root means to set out on a journey in some Semitic regions. But whatever it from, these loan words paid off in quite a few derived writings. And then it's amazing how each name once again represented the people and the stuff that they were doing. Now these people were burning their children. That says that they were doing what? Sending a message. That was sending a message. These people were not trying to basically extend their generations through children, because they was killing them. So once again, this is what they felt like this is where you kind of see selfishness. This was a people that were selfish, and in their selfishness, understand, they were only thinking about themselves. And when I say understand, in other words, you see what their selfishness brought them to. In other words, it's about me, and this is about survival, and I'm going to live if it means burning up my children for me to live. They just using them for was sacrifices. And what was placed on the land. Put there on the land. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Wow. It also, the masculine sefer, denoting various kinds of writings, historical records, 5 and 1 legal documents, and looking at these, the meaning of these words and so forth. It's important that we look at those that have been placed on the land. Now, when you look at the name of the deities, Adremelech, these are who carry the name Adremelech, although one is probably named Adremelech, is one of the 2 parasital sons of Sennacherib, king of Assyria, Melachim Bet 1937, and the other being Shezar, or Sherez. Adremelech is also the name of an idol which was worshipped by the Serabites, to which they sacrificed their children. Melachim Bet 1731. Now, once again, these are the Babylonian gods. Now, the name Adremelech consists of 2 parts. The first part may have to do with an Assyrian or Babylonian god named Adar, but spelled, it must have reminded the Abram only of a verb, Adar, meaning to be majestic. Majestic. So, once again, this is where they would go, how far they were willing to go for their own, to burn their own children. That's crazy. That's crazy. When we look at the name Adremelech, Jones Dictionary reads, magnificent of the king, but as perhaps in Persian the name means the king of fire, which is then supposed to mean the sun. Knob's Study Bible name list doesn't translate the first part of the name Adremelech and reads Adar is king. Theological Dictionary does the same and proposes Adar is prince and refers to the known Babylonian god named Adar. So once again, you see all these names and you see all this crazy stuff that people are doing, and once again, contamination of the land. Now the name Amalek occurs in the Bible. They sacrificed their children by brides, were located in Yisrael by decree of the king of Assyria, and Yahuwah had sent lions among them to sort them out. Hence they request of the king a priest attuned with Yahuwah of Yisrael, so that they may know how to keep the lions out. That's the only thing they wanted to do, learn how to keep the lions out, but they didn't want to learn how to serve him and truly love him. They were just only want to keep the lions out. The priest comes and settles in Bethel, but apparently he wasn't much of an evangelist, because even though the new locals began to fear Yahuwah, they kept worshiping their idols and continuing murdering their own children. That says a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
That says a lot. Once again, and so much more, but I have to get to with this another time. But I read that because he wanted us to see how important it is to know history.
Right.
He is also the name of, and it may simply mean King Anu, or Anu is king. King of answers, or king of fountains, or king of eyes. So these people were worshiping this, and they just brought contamination, theological contamination. They brought ceremonial contamination. They just contaminated everything in that land, because in spite of all that was going on, they still continued to serve and worship their own deities that they created. It's important that we understand, once again, our people were moved off the land. The land from their disobedience. It suffered, because remember, the shedding of blood and too much blood on the land, what? Barren and cursed. So the land suffered. Once again, the men of Elam made Sarpina, the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima, and the Awites made Nabahaz and Tartak, and Amalek, the god of Seraphim. They also fear Yahuwah and appointed from themselves priests of the high places who acted for them in the houses of the high places. They say they really fear Yahuwah. They just fear the lions coming to get them. Because it says, among whom they have been carried away into exile. So once again, to this day, they do according to the earlier customs. They do not fear Yahuwah, nor do they follow their statutes or their ordinances of the instructions of the commandments which Yahuwah commanded the sons of Yaakov, whom he named Yisrael, with whom Yahuwah made a covenant and commanded them, saying, You shall not fear other power, nor bow down yourselves to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice to them. But Yahuwah, who brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim with great power and with an outstretched arm, him you shall fear, and to him you shall bow yourself down, and to him you shall sacrifice. Once again, you have to understand, these were the surrounding people. Right. And so the children of Yisrael lost their inheritance because they were doing the same thing these people were doing. Right. And because king of Shalmaneser was going to put the people on there, I want on there. And that's what he did. Once again, we got to look into the bigger picture of this. So when Yahushua was passing through and he stopped in Shamara, you have to understand all the stuff that had taken place with those people and all the stuff that they had experienced and encountered. He's dealing with that plus their own religion. Are you hearing me? Yes. Okay. Now, the statutes and the ordinances and the instructions and the commandments which he were to do. Ever. Somebody say,
that's just the commandments of you.
That's a lot.
That's right.
However, that means that we're supposed to teach. Right. This is why we don't have time to be fighting one another, because we've already lost so much ground. Yeah. You don't know what to do. When you think about the average person, when you ask the average person what is sin, they can't tell you. Right. When you ask them what are the commandments, they can't tell you. Then they'll come and throw you 613 commands. They were not the commandments, baby. That come from the Talmud. Right. You want to talk to me? Let's talk about the 10 commandments. Right. And verse 20 said, and he added no more. That means there were specific instructions. Why did they get off the land? Because they forgot the commandments. They forgot the statutes of Yahuwah. They forgot they were supposed to love him more than anything else. They forgot that they were supposed to gravitate to the powers of the people around them. They forgot that they were not supposed to pick up their bad habits. Nowhere. The problem comes in once again is miseducation. Right. We got people still running around here talking about their Ibram with ox on their neck. Something wrong with that. Right. We still got people running around here talking about Lord God, but they are Ibram. Something wrong with that picture. Because we have not been fully persuaded, and when we came out of maintain walking in the illumination of truth, which is light. Walking in truth. And so here, still struggling, trying to come out, but they're stuck. And what don't make it no better, you got those of us trying to pull people up out of the murky, miry clay, and you got people shooting at us, and we trying to help them. I'm not your enemy.
That's right.
Something wrong with that picture.
That's right.
I'm trying to help somebody get up out of the situation, and you try to be under the bus. It ain't gonna happen. I drive the bus. Once again, it is important that we understand what we are dealing with. And in spite of all that, our people still end up falling right back into that same place. After going through all that and being delivered, they still fell right back into that same place. And look at Yahushua. This is where he traveled to. He said, this is why you need to go into Shamara or to Samaria. Because they have to be ministered to. Are you understanding? Yes. Saying the footsteps that Yahushua took. And for those that don't understand, they grab one scripture and go fool with it. Don't have no kind of understanding of it at all. Just ignorant. The statutes and the ordinances and the commandment and the instructions and the commandments of Yahushua he wrote for you, you shall observe to do forever, and you shall not fear other power. The covenants that I have made with you. Once again, if we forget the covenant and we powers, don't get in trouble, because then we will be sucked into doing what they do. You got people once talking about the Ankh is life. But Yahuwah your power, you shall fear, and he will deliver you from the hand of all your enemies. However, they did not listen. Somebody say they didn't listen.
They didn't
Listen. He said, but according to their early customs. So while these nations fear Yahuwah, they also serve their idols. Their children likewise and their grandchildren as their abbas did, so they do to this day. Melachim Bet 17:24-41. Isn't it amazing that even doing all that foolishness they was doing, they still feared Yahuwah, but didn't stop doing what they were doing? That's just crazy. Now you have to understand, our people were doing what they were doing and they had no fear of Yahuwah. These people in direct idolatry, but still had a fear of Yahuwah. And the Ibram priests of Bethel, who had been trained to function in the false religion Jeroboam invented, learned no lesson from being deported to Assyria. They continued to worship both idols, the one true, exactly why he punished them by deporting them from eternal extinction into Assyria. Now he deported them to Assyria. It's amazing. And Assyria turned around and went and took their land and put up on. And they was doing all kinds of stuff on there. And each one of you can actually see through their names that they were doing. You can see it. All that crazy stuff. But once again, they had a fear of Yahuwah. It's just something about our people that they don't fear Yahuwah. And you know about what come out of their mouths. Yeah, I may not agree with everything because I don't know everything. I do know, once again, I'll never put my mouth on it. Right. Are you hearing me? Yeah. We so quick to talk about one another. We so quick to cut one another down. No, I don't know everything about them, so I cannot speak on everything about them. What I do disagree with, I disagree. But guess what? I disagree. I go on. Right. I don't get up there talking all crazy and threatening and doing all that stuff. You know why? Because Yahuwah's going to deal with them. There's other things that I could be doing, and that's ministering and teaching and bringing people into truth. Exactly. We need to stop with all the rest of this crazy stuff and really look at the important what's going on here. And that's about winning and bringing the prostituting sheep of Yisrael home. That's right. They're out there. What is a prostitute? Just like these people on the land, they were still trying, and they'll be trying the name and do all that, but yet they still have that mentality, well, I still got to do this, I'm still going to do that. No, either you're going to serve him and be committed to him and dedicated to him, or you're still going to be considered a prostitute in his eyes. Because you cannot love him and still be doing everything that he said not to do. That's right, that's right. Where is the fear? When you can turn around and say that you love Yahuwah, but then turn right around and be talking about Lord and God and Jesus. Right. See, that's what he's talking about. While everybody else is running around here having a form of uprightness and denying the power thereof. Right. When you believe that you're right, when you don't even know what you're fighting against. Their problem is that they could deities. They continue to fear other deities and would not fear Yahuwah, their Savior. That's why they had no problem worshiping and all the crazy stuff they were doing and did nothing. They had no fear. Just like me. We have no fear about what we say about one another. We have no fear about what we do and how your Ak and your Akodi and won't even think about what you say. You will threaten them, and if you don't threaten them, they bash them and you will do all that stuff and you won't even consider what you're doing. Not my anointing and do my prophet no more. Take that, believe it or you, but one at the examples that Yahuwah left for us concerning our ancestors and forefathers, and stop being so quick to fight one another. Right. We better learn how to unite and not fight each other, but the enemy of our belief. Right. How can we ever show the world that we are people of wisdom when every time they turn around they see us, they see somebody slamming somebody else? Right. Can't. That's why he's calling us, and that's why he's showing us these things. Once again, out of all the years I've read this, I never seen this until he began to show it to me today and show me to go look up some of this stuff. How they went right in the land and were doing the same thing, but Yahuwah told them, don't you do it. But they did it anyway, and they got evicted, and people doing it, and they still on the land of this day. Why? Because in spite of doing, they still fear Yahuwah. They weren't supposed to be doing it, but they were. But Yahuwah specifically told us, don't you learn the ways of the people around you, and don't you take on what they're doing. Guess what? Hard-headed. Once again, sometimes people get so stuck in their mind and in their heart, they can't purge it out of there. They just think, I'm going to do it anyway, no matter what it costs me, no matter what. That's just because you know the consequences in the end. So this is what they went through. Once again, and the false religion of Jeroboam. They didn't learn no lesson from being deported to Assyria. They learned no lesson. When we go through this, when we don't turn around, I ain't going back in it no more. I am not going to let this Torah depart from my mouth. I'm going to meditate on it, and I'm going to do everything you told me to do. And what I don't understand, I'm going to seek you till you bring me the clarity. Because if we don't do that, we're going to find ourselves being in the same situation and even worse. Once again, these people were doing whatever they wanted to do, and they were occupying the land. That meant the land was going to be even the more. And you have to understand, the land is its original owner, and others based on it that are not worthy of it. And somebody may say, well, we'll do that to teach our people. They got on it, and guess what? They continue to promote idolatry, continue to promote false religion. They continue to contaminate the land. So now watch this. If you go back and inherit or get something that's been contaminated and messed up, you can't do nothing with it. It's going to take you longer to get it fixed because of all the stuff that's taking place on it. So once again, it was to teach them a lesson. Now once again, it's important for us to understand, and this is the since formally began. Look at everything, the scripture, you find all this stuff, but sometimes we've been taught to read past the gate, not even consider. But not only were they look at it, somebody replaced them. I don't want to be replaced. And especially with somebody and even qualified and deserving of the esteem and love. Now somebody said, well, that's kind of harsh. No, it's not. I'm the chosen. And I don't want to be booted out and removed. Are you understanding?
Yes.
So in order to keep from having that, we live right. Once again, let that sink into your heart and into your mind. All the stuff that they got on the land and began to do, they could continually contaminate the land. While they watching them, they over in Assyria in captivity, while they over there land doing whatever they want. Let it not be said that Yahuwah do us like that again. So, and we do give Abba Yahuwah esteem for all that he's done, doing, and all that he's yet going to do. We give him love and praise because he is precious to us. Not only is he precious, but he is awesome and he is worthy to be praised. Once again, I told him for what he has given us and what he has shown us even in this. Once again, sometimes we don't even think about those things because we know what's right there before us, and so we just go deeper to see what's taking place. But once again, all of these things that have taken place is to show us that those that occupied the land were those that were strangers to the land to a degree, but when they got on the land, they didn't care. They just wanted to continue to do what they were doing. Now you got to remember, they were also exiles. They were exiles because under Shalmaneser, he had everybody over there. And he just said, well, look, I'm going to take y'all from where y'all are. Y'all going to keep this land for me. And so they, in order to for them to be satisfied, they continued to walk in idolatry and do what they were accustomed to doing, kept their customs. Once again, let us not fall into that same mentality and fall into that. Let us truly wake up and live so that we can live again in the instructions and the commandments and statutes and judgments of our Creator. Let us not forget it, for in the day we forget it, we'll find ourselves being judged. Because really now we have no excuse, except we just being self-willed and hard-headed. And that is the truth. Do they have an excuse? Absolutely. None of us do. And so I want to encourage your hearts to hold fast to the truth and don't let it go. Fast to it. And remember our answer for what got them in trouble. And remember, when they lost that anybody, and we're about to close, all that they had done on that land, all they had brought that land to just to have somebody come and tear it up. Have somebody come and contaminate, just have somebody come and to mess it up the more. That's something to be reduced. So once again, let us not be reduced. Let us continue to follow the instructions of Yahushua HaMashiach, and it is so. And it is so. Come on, put your hands together and esteem him this morning. To you and you, continue to keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in and upon the Torah. Remember, we love you and we're praying with you. Also, I want to remind you of every fourth day, Yom Raviv, is our challenge. Get out there and walk. Get out there and exercise. Get out there and keep yourself healthy. Be mobile. Get off in front of the TV. Get off the computer. Get off the social media for an hour or two. And get out there and build a relationship with nature. Get out there and breathe in the cool air and look at the beautiful stars and get yourself out there and become healthy. And those of us that are healthy, let's remain healthy. Right. You can never be too healthy. So let's get out there and let's do what we need to do to fortify and continue to make build our bodies and make sure our bodies stay strong and healthy. Once again, I challenge you to get out there and walk. And if you can't get out there, exercise. Find a good exercise regimen and follow and get yourself. Walking does the body good. Once encourage walk, exercise, and eat healthy. I'm not saying don't eat meat because I make sure it's kosher meat. But eat your vegetables as well. Eat your fruit. Drink your water and drink your juices, natural juices. Once again. To build your immune system. Build your immune system up and keep it up. Keep your body alkaline so that you don't be acidic. Because when you're acidic, that's when you have sicknesses. Because sicknesses can only dwell in an acidic body. If your body is alkaline, then sickness cannot get it. Once again, I want to encourage you to keep your head up, keep your shoulders square, and keep your heart, feet, and mind in the Torah. Sabrina Brown also 7, and I want you to remember that we love you and we're praying with you and for you. I am also the leader of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministries located in South Carolina, and I will be here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom of Great Belief Ministry located and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember that you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so. This is Champion TV.